Topuria, Pereira. No. You wouldn't be interested in promoting those fights?
No way in hell. The crossover fights suck. That's not what we do. I want to see the best fighters in the world fight the best fighters in the world. There's other networks and other people that do that shit. It's not what I do. I did it once.
And it was amazing.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was amazing. It was financially unbelievable, but how many times can you keep fooling people with that? I run a business. We try to put on the best fights with the best fighters in the world. You hope that the people that spent all this money to come here and the people who stayed home on a Saturday got what they were hoping for. You hope you deliver. And what I hope to deliver on Saturdays is as many holy shit moments as possible. You don't get that from the crossover fights. Tell me a crossover fight that you ever saw that you were like, wow, I feel like I just saw the best fight the best.
Those are the ones that are generating the most traction online.
Does it?
It seems like it. It seems like all...
I would have to fucking completely disagree with you.
Dana White has just drawn a very clear line in the sand when it comes to one of the most talked about ideas in combat sports right now, and that's UFC fighters stepping into the boxing ring. With crossover fights becoming more popular and the success of events involving fighters moving between disciplines, fans have been asking the same question again and again. Could top UFC stars like Alex Pereira or Ilia Topuria eventually take on boxing matches? But according to Dana White, that idea isn't going anywhere anytime soon. White recently made it clear that he has no intention of letting his biggest stars leave the UFC to compete in boxing bouts, especially outside of the system he's building. His position is simple. If UFC fighters are going to box, it will happen under his control, not through outside promotions or independent deals.
Yeah, the fights that pull big numbers are the ones that involve Mike Tyson. Other than that, if it's not Tyson, it's just not what I do. So what I'm into is the best versus the best. What's at stake? What does this fight mean? And where does anybody who's ever been a competitor, I guess you would call it, they take older UFC fighters that don't fight, aren't ranked, or just have big names, built a name here, and then they fight each other for what? For money. It doesn't lead to anything. So if I took my biggest star in the UFC versus a big star in boxing and they fight each other and it's a lopsided, horrible fight that means nothing for either of them, what is the point and what's the purpose? It's just not what we do here.
This stance becomes even more important when you look at fighters like Alex Pereira. With his elite striking background and knockout power, many fans believe he could easily transition into high-level boxing matchups. The same goes for Ilia Topuria, who has shown confidence in his hands and has even hinted at wanting to test himself in different arenas. But for Dana White, this isn't just about what fighters want. It's about protecting the UFC as a business. The UFC has spent years building its biggest stars, investing in their careers, promoting their fights, and turning them into global names. Allowing those same fighters to step outside the organization for major boxing matches introduces risks. There's the risk of injury, the risk of losing control over promotion, and even the risk of those fighters building value outside of the UFC brand. That's why Dana White is taking a firm approach. Instead of letting fighters explore boxing freely, he's focusing on building his own structure for it. With Zuffa Boxing already in development, the goal is clear. Bring boxing under the same umbrella and keep everything in-house. From a business perspective, it makes sense. But from a fan perspective, it does change things. Because some of the biggest dream matchups people talk about, UFC champions facing elite boxers, may not happen unless they fit within Dana White's vision. Fighters won't have the same freedom to chase those opportunities independently. At the same time, this approach shows just how valuable fighters like Pereira and Topuria are right now. They're not just athletes, they're major assets to the promotion. And Dana White isn't willing to take risks with assets of that level. So for now, the message is very clear. UFC fighters are staying in the UFC. And if they ever step into a boxing ring, it won't be because they chose to. It will be because the UFC allowed it. Because in today's fight business, control is everything. And Dana White isn't giving that up.